dating apps can really destroy your self-esteem if you allow them to. And I was recording a different video actually, and I was like talking about my experience with being insecure and what all that was like. And it was just super interesting because while I was talking about that, I instantly got a flashback to when I was single, when I was on the dating apps, and all of that stuff. And I remember being on the dating apps, and I remember initially thinking like, oh well, with these dating apps, I can be on Tinder and Hinge and what was one of the other ones I was on for a second? Was it something Cupid? I can't remember, but I was, and I remember being on like Tinder and Hinge and kind of thinking, oh wow, like there's so many options on here. There's no way that like, I'm sure like I'm gonna find someone, whatever. And so I remember getting stood up twice actually on maybe both times it was Tinder, I think. That I straight up got stood up twice. And so it instantly like made me think just talking about that stuff. It made me realize that dating apps can absolutely just destroy your self-esteem if you allow them to. Because I remember, of course, the day of the date, like I'm sitting here, I'm getting ready, I'm picking out an outfit, the whole nine. I'm picking out my sneakers. I'm making sure that, I'm looking fly and all that stuff. And, and then of course I pull up, I'm like texting her like, oh hey, like I'm on the way. I'm gonna be like 5 minutes late or whatever. And then of course I remember getting there, kind of chilling, like going inside and being like, oh, like she's not here. Like I texted her saying I'm here, but I'm still not getting a response. Walked inside, doesn't look like she's there. And so, and then I remember like just that moment that it hits you of like, oh damn, like she's actually not pulling up to this. And just that feeling of like, oh crap, like, holy cow. And so, um, even though like it's a terrible feeling like, oh, you're on these apps and you're definitely going to meet someone, it's not such a good feeling when you see that like, oh damn, like she straight up just didn't show up, didn't text me, never heard anything from her again. But it did make me realize that dating apps give us this false illusion, this false sense of security that, oh, just because we're on these dating apps, we've got limitless options. And because we have limitless options, we definitely should be going on, multiple dates per week and all of that stuff. And it reminded me back to when I first went to college. And when I first got to college, being away from your parents, being on your own, living in a dorm, all that stuff. I remember getting to college and being like, oh, like this is gonna be so easy. Like I'm tall, I work out, I'm nice. I remember thinking like, oh man, like I'm just gonna get so many girls. Like it's gonna be crazy. And then when that didn't happen like that, when my idea of college didn't live up to the expectation, it was tough on my self esteem because I went from feeling like, oh, I'm gonna be on top of the world, I'm gonna have so many girls, it's gonna be a problem, I'm gonna have girls chasing me after class, I'm gonna be like Drake or Justin Bieber or something or BTS, just like girls going crazy over me. And when of course I'm like being facetious, but like when it didn't turn into that, it made me feel like, damn, maybe I'm actually like not attractive, low key. Maybe I'm socially awkward. Maybe there's something wrong with me to the point where there's a reason that I'm not getting the girls that I feel like I should be getting or whatever, just based on who I am, how I treat people, how I go about things. And with dating apps, it really can be the same way because with dating apps, it's not like you having to go out in person and like meet these people. You can just chill on your couch at home and you can just like swipe on girls if you want. Like you could be on Hinge or whatever. You could get the I don't know if it's called Hinge Premium or Plus or whatever it's called now, but you could get that and you technically could just sit on your couch and just swipe on girls for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, if you want to. But the thing is, what happens when you've done that for 3 hours and let's say you've matched with like, let's say 10 girls or 15 girls, and let's say 90% of them don't respond, then it's gonna hit you to the point where it's gonna be like, damn, okay, well, I was on this app, for 3 hours. I spent all this time swiping. I didn't get as many matches as I thought I was gonna get, number one. Number two, of the matches that I actually got, most of these girls didn't even respond. So then it just leaves you feeling like, damn, like, okay, am I just not doing something right? Is it something wrong with me? Is there something that I'm lacking to the point where I'm not seeing what I thought I was supposed to see in terms of the results? And so some of you guys are commenting on the chat. I appreciate all you guys. Prime Leader 88 said hi. Beanbrook Haven says hi. XX Your Locale says hi. I hope all you guys are doing well. Pancini Bananini says hi. I hope all of you guys are doing well. I hope all of you guys have some fun plans for the weekend. But yeah, so it was just so crazy to me because it was so wild how instantly your confidence could just tank. And you could go from feeling amazing and feeling like you're on top of the world to instantly just being like, damn, maybe I'm not hot stuff like I thought I was. And because it almost, and I would talk to my homie about this all the time, it definitely made me wish that dating apps like almost weren't a thing. It almost made me wish that we could go back to the time of like just having to meet people in person and having to find those connections ourselves. Because the thing is, when you're presented with these like limitless options, so to speak, of like, oh, like I can just like swipe and I can just like, meet all these girls, naturally we tend to have an expectation, right? Compared to if there were no dating apps and we had to meet people on our own, the expectation levels are completely different. And what tends to happen is we tend to have this mindset going on of like, oh no, like we, because we have so many options, if we're not getting those options, we start to feel like there's something that we're doing wrong or there's a reason why this isn't turning out the way that I thought it was. And so I see James Nelson says hi. Hey, I hope you're doing well. Um, but yeah, I think with dating apps, it's just so crazy because we live in a world where a lot of us are already dealing with insecurity. A lot of us are already kind of dealing with these feelings of feeling like we're not enough, of feeling like we have to constantly prove ourselves, whether it's because our friends are in relationships, whether it's because our friends are getting married and they're having kids and we're out here still single trying to figure out what we're even doing with our lives. And because of that, dating apps just adds another layer of complication to all of that. And so I think it's just really interesting how the most important thing really with dating apps that I tell people is you cannot allow dating apps to become your self-esteem apps. Just allow dating apps to be something where, okay, like, yeah, it can be cool. You can meet people, you can form new connections on there, but it shouldn't replace your self-esteem in any way, shape, or form. It shouldn't come in and instantly be the reason that you feel great or you feel bad about yourself. Because I've been watching this show called, I think it's called Indian Matchmaking with my wife. And so we've been watching that, and it's crazy because even just from watching that, I see so many people that'll talk about their experience with dating apps and how things just haven't really worked out for them. And what I would also tell people, what I would tell you guys too, if you're on the dating apps, don't take it as such a harsh critique. Because for me, for example, yes, I had those two girls no show, but at the same time, you cannot allow someone no showing or not responding to you to be a personal indictment on who you are as a person. Because ultimately, with dating apps, people are looking at a profile and making an assumption based on the profile if they would or wouldn't like you. A lot of times, they don't have the context of knowing friends that know you, they don't have the context of meeting you in person and you getting their number or whatever, but seeing your mechanisms and your quirks and seeing that stuff in person, they don't have any of that to go off of. A lot of times they're basing what they think about you from some pictures and your bio, essentially. And just from seeing those things, it's really hard to get a good idea of who someone is. Are they as cool as they seem to be based on their profile, or are they not as cool? And maybe they just had a friend write their bio or whatever. And so, because of that, it's extremely important that you don't take your results or lack of results on these dating apps personal, because because it's super subjective. And I remember thinking, because I think for me, I guess I had the most luck on Hinge, because at the time that I was on Hinge, and this was a long time ago, but when I was on there, I felt like a lot more girls were open to actually meeting and kind of seeing where things went. But I felt like on Tinder, it was one of those places where a lot of girls sometimes can be on dating apps as almost like a source of validation. And sometimes guys can also take that personal, where they can get upset if they feel like, okay, well, they're matching with girls but they're not responding, or they're spending time liking, right, swiping right, whatever, and they feel like they're not getting the attention that they should be getting. And sometimes that's part of it too, is just understanding that sometimes for girls it can almost like help them feel a little bit better, um, knowing that, like, oh, okay, cool, like, X amount of people swiped on my profile or whatever the case may be. And so that's another reason why it's important to not take those things so personal. And that was why, like, as I was talking my last video, I was like, man, I feel like I need to make a video strictly, like, straight up about these apps, and straight up just kind of giving my 2 cents on why I feel like they can destroy your self-esteem if you don't have self-esteem before you get on these apps. And this is why, like, I always tell people, it's important to make sure that you love yourself before you put yourself in position to start dating, before you put yourself in position where you can love someone else. Because getting on the dating apps while you're still insecure is just not a good idea, because you'll find that either you'll be on top of the world and you'll feel like, oh, boom, like, I'm super attractive because I got 10 likes, yesterday or whatever, and 10 girls responded to me. Or you'll feel like you're super unattractive if you feel like the next day or the day after, 8 of them don't respond to you. And that was my thing, was I just felt like dating apps played a huge role in my confidence, just kind of doing this, where it's like it would just be up one day, I'd feel like, boom, that's it, I'm killing it, I'm crushing the game. And then the next minute it would just be like, oh snap, it would just slowly start to tank. And so I really just had to realize, okay, hold on, this definitely is not normal for me to be feeling like this. And because of that, I have some work to do, where I need to work on myself to figure out things that I can improve on. And so ultimately, yeah, I think dating apps can be a good thing ultimately, but at the same time, they can also be, a struggle as well if you're not kind of in position to to really work on yourself. And I'm trying to look at my outline here to see if I'm missing anything, because I think I touched on everything. Um, Let me see. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, I guess the main thing I wanted to add was I also wanted to talk about how, yes, rejection is something that happens to you, but rejection doesn't ever have to define you. So even if you might have, you know, even though you might have gotten curved or she might have not shown up on you, she might have flaked, it's about not taking rejection personal, because at the end of the day, yes, rejection happened, but it doesn't make you any less of a person. It doesn't mean that now all of a sudden you're just going to die alone and you're never going to find your person. It's a matter of truly, one of the quotes that I heard that's one of my favorite quotes is, rejection is just redirection. So I want you guys to remember, like, if someone ever rejects you or if someone ever isn't interested, don't take that so personal, because essentially what happened is that person said that they're not for you or that you're not for them. But really, all that did was it freed you up so that you could find someone that sees that value in you. And so it's super important that you don't get super down on yourself during those periods. And so, yeah, you guys, that pretty much wraps up this video. I kind of, I guess, started this live and just wanted to kind of ramble about my take on dating apps and how they can be bad for your self-esteem. But I hope that you guys got some value from this video. I hope that you guys like, comment, subscribe. And also, I have an ebook that I'm going to link in the description, and it's called Already Chosen. And basically, it talks about just essentially what I've been talking about, just learning to build that self confidence for yourself before you start dating. And I have also a school community that I'm starting as well, where I talk about the importance of becoming the right person to like find your person, but then also once you find your person, the tools and the things that we need to work on to keep these relationships alive. And so I hope you guys found some serious value from these videos. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see all of you guys in the next video.